So Paul Hyde is Air Force ROTC. He's being reassigned, I think,
Yes.
somewhere else. I'm not sure. You
Yeah,
can tell us.
I'll tell you in a bit.
Okay. And then we've got Lieutenant Colonel Shepard, who is with Army ROTC, and we've got Major John Ford, who's with Air Force ROTC. Online, we've got John Charles Finbush from Central Washington University. Do we have anybody else? No, I'm sorry. Yeah, John Charles, you're at right?
Yes.
Yeah. And do we have anybody else online? Okay, Lieutenant Colonel LaRue from Montana State might be joining us online as well. So what we'll do is Major Paul Hyde will lead us, but we'll have lots of input from other ROTC people who can give you examples or highlight some of the things you'll be learning about. So,
All right. Thanks, Bernie. All right. So yeah, welcome all. I'm Major Paul Hyde, U.S. Space Force, work at Air Force ROTC here at WSU. We'll go through a little bit of a short introduction for everybody. I just want to give you a little bit about my background. Before we do that, we're going to be talking about team building, leadership, and followership over the next hour and a half. And this is kind of a universal ideas. It's not just tied to the Department of Defense or any sort of military services. It's applicable to any sort of team that you'd be working with in your life. So I'm excited. This is Air Force material curriculum, but it's definitely applicable through all the services. So we're going to have input from the Army represented, Space Force, Air Force. So a little bit about me. I've been here for 3 years teaching our cadets. Cadet Cottle is one of our Air Force cadets. Do we have any other cadets in here? Okay.
we've got cadets from Montana State University. You want to introduce yourself? Say your names.
Yeah.
That'd be Emily.
What service?
Air
Air Force, okay.
Caleb Lowe, Air Force.
All right.
But Alan Morbeck, Army.
Stacy Showalter, Army.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Thanks for coming. So I'm a space operations officer by trade. I've been in the Air Force for 11 and a half years, transferred over to the Space Force. And I've been in the Space Force for now 2.5 years, but all the while I'm teaching ROTC here at the college. But my background has been in satellite operations, tracking objects in space, making sure they don't collide. And it's been a real honor and privilege to be able to teach the cadets going through the ROTC program, teaching them, mentoring them to become officers. So I'll be leaving this summer, going off to a new assignment in Hawaii, which I'm very excited about. But I'll hand it over to Colonel Sheptick to give you a little bit of intro on him.
Yeah. Hey, good morning, everybody. Colonel Matt Sheptick. I lead the WSU Army ROTC program. I commissioned from the University of Vermont. Yes, I did play basketball there. Loved it. But I also did Army ROTC, and I commissioned as a military intelligence officer for detail infantry. I spent my first 4 years in the infantry, did my first deployment to Iraq, came back, went to the captain's course, went back to Iraq, advised the Iraqi army, and then went to the National Security Agency where I did an assignment doing technical collection and exploitation along the Afghan border. And then did my company command at the National Security Agency where we had 18 different work centers that supported everything from tailored access operations, doing offensive cyber, to our defensive cyber mission at the National Security Agency. It's a great assignment, learned a ton. I'm very encouraged to see this program coming to WSU because I believe in it, not just for the health of our country in terms of national defense, but also in terms of the security of our corporations and businesses. I'm also encouraged to see this team building exercise in this curriculum because no matter where you serve, kind of after you get done with WSU or wherever school you're from in this program, and no matter how talented you are in these technical fields, you're going to be a part of a team, and you can be as talented as you are or as anybody. But if you can't be part of a team and you can't lead a team, that talent will be diminished. So glad to participate with Major Hyde and the crew here, and I'll just fill in more when I can. Glad to answer any questions too before, on break or whatnot.
Thank you, Ford.
I'm Major John Ford. I'm here to be able to kind of learn from Major Hyde of how this kind of program goes, and I'll be taking over, helping to support it for the next 2 years after this. I've been here roughly 1 year, and my normal craft in the military is I do contracts, so I'm more along the acquisition line, working multi-million, multi-billion-dollar programs to be able to support acquisition. Anything the military doesn't want to do for themselves, they hire somebody else out, help to hire those people to be able to make sure that they're abiding by standards and enforcing contracts. So I work a lot with the legal team. Words matter to me, and just try to be able to figure out how we can be able to support Air Force RST here on campus. All the classes that we teach are not just Air Force specific, but honestly, they're geared to, of course, leadership and communication. So this is a pretty good fit for every team building, because it's something we have to do it every day, of being able to not just lead, but also learn how to be an effective follower as well. You can be able to lead or follow if you learn the skills, including the soft skills that are required to do that. You can be effective in your everyday life, even within family relationships that applications for some of the material that we teach. So I'm glad to be here, and glad to be able to I'm here kind of learning what he's doing, and hopefully I can be able to support you guys in the next couple of years.
All right, and then we got Captain Tenbush. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself online.
Will do. Good morning, everyone. I'm Captain John Charles Tenbush. I'm over at Central Washington University, and I'm taking over the program from Mr. Andrew Vandenhoek, who was here last year and helped give this presentation last year at the CySER Summer Symposium. I am a nuclear missile operator by trade, been in the Air Force about 7 years, commissioned out of the University of Washington doing the ROTC program. And I'll echo a lot of what has already been said with this lesson that we're going to be going over today. It's a very unique one, but a very important one that no matter what your background is, you will participate in at some point in your life, whether you're in a designated leadership position or just part of a team. You'll have to exhibit some kind of leadership and learn how to interact in different team dynamics. So this is a very awesome lesson that we'll be covering today.
And I want to introduce to our military people, our sponsors. So Jennifer McCullough, you want to tell who you are, what you do, and Sonia as well?
Absolutely. Yes, thank you. So my name is Jennifer McCullough. I work at Griffith Institute. I was the Viceroy project lead. So when Viceroy, the inception of Viceroy started back in 2019, I was the person that kind of started together at Griffith Institute. I'm now the engagement. So actually setting up a host site for our interns as they come to us. We do a first year internship at Rome, New York, in conjunction with GI and Air Force Research Lab. And then the second year we send them out to host sites. So like this year I've got them going to England Air Force Base, Joint Base San Antonio. They're working with 350 Spectrum Warfare Unit there. We've got them going to the cyber unit at the Houston Air Force Base, and this year a new one for us is Fort Naval Undersea Warfare Center. So very excited, and my partner in crime is Ms. Sophie Combs.
So I'm I work for the Air Force Research Laboratory, Innovation Directorate in Rome, New York. I am a computer scientist. I just became the Viceroy program manager, so I help kind of move the money from OUSD out to the GI and then to the universities. And then I also serve as kind of a technical lead role because of my background in computer science and also cyber defense. I've done a lot of research and development in the areas of systems engineering and then also cyber home and assessment.
And are you former military?
No.
Okay.
But she is former cyber
I'm former scholarship.
scholarship, so she's very familiar with the programs we're looking for.
Sure.
All right, thank you. All right, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Bernie. Okay. We do this with all our lessons. This is what we really want to get out of today's lesson. These are our objectives for today. So we want to go over the benefits and challenges of teamwork. Who loves, group projects? Oh, really? Okay. That's great. Yeah. Not very many people do. Sometimes it's way easier to just kind of do it yourself. This this lesson hopefully will identify, there are some benefits to teamwork, and on a lot of cases, when we're working with larger projects, very complex things, you're gonna need a team of people to do this. You can't do it by yourself, you just can't. So there are some challenges that come along with working with people, that's a given, but there are very large benefits to working with teams. So hopefully you can identify that. The second thing is we're gonna be talking about the stages of team growth, and this is kind of a universal growth that has been observed. We break it down into 5 stages, so we'll go over those in detail. We want to identify the characteristics and relationship of leaders and followers. So what makes a good leader? What characteristics does a good follower have? And then how are those two kind of entities related to each other? The last thing is, what can leaders and followers do inside a team to help them grow and get to those next steps of team leadership and growth, and to develop that team so it can be more effective? And what helps, what doesn't help? So those are the objectives for today. Next slide. All right, so I think like Major Ford said, ROTC, the Reserve Officer Training Corps, is a program based on leadership. That is our primary focus, is developing leaders to serve. This is just an overview of what we're going to be going over. First thing we're going to do is a little bit of team building exercise. So I'll go over the details in that, but it'll help hopefully illustrate some of these concepts of teamwork. We'll go through those stages of teamwork, team growth in COGS ladder. Has anybody ever heard of COGS ladder? Yeah, okay. Yeah, this might be a little bit redundant. It's not all the same, but it's a model for team growth that we'll go through. Then we'll do a break, a little bit of a break, 5-7 minute break. Then we'll come back and do a little bit of a leadership and followership identification of what characteristics we tie to those words. And then again, discussion will follow on how we can use those leadership and followership traits to then develop team growth. This is going to be kind of an interactive session, hopefully. So I'll be asking questions. Feel free to, pop up your hand, answer. I'll call on you, I'll point to you. The other instructors too will kind of jump in as needed. So hopefully it'll be a very conversational lesson today. Okay. All right. So with that said, we'll start with sorry, I keep going backwards. A little bit of a simple team building puzzle activity. We're going to break into 2 groups. So I think actually we'll just have this be one team right here on this side, and then another team on this side. What we're going to do is you can help me pass out to the paper. All right. So in this envelope is some puzzle pieces. They're very small. There's 25 pieces. What you're going to do in your group is you're going to each evenly select some of these pieces in the envelope and then transfer them by drawing onto the large piece of paper. Does that make sense? So if you open up those envelopes, there's going to be some lines on each of those pieces of paper. And you're going to each individually transfer the lines of those pieces onto the larger piece. So you're basically enlarging these pieces. Some of the rules for this is that you can't assemble the small pieces. So it is a puzzle, but I don't want you to assemble the small pieces right now. Once all the small pieces have been transferred to the large pieces, that's when your team is going to then start assembling this puzzle. It's a 5x5 puzzle. There's 25 pieces. I'll give you about 15 minutes to complete that. Is anybody unsure or unclear of what we're doing?
So we just draw the whole small paper like onto the.
Yeah, so each small paper is gonna transfer onto each of the large paper. So, for instance, this one, you draw those lines onto here. You basically enlarging this. Well, we're gonna try to yeah. Yeah, might make sense if we can buy that. Like 5, everyone takes. Yeah, then you can just draw the. Yeah, so you're basically going to draw these shapes onto that piece of paper to a larger. And then once all of the pieces have been transferred to the larger pieces, you're going to put together the.
Oh, wait, I have one.
It's one piece more responsible, one large. Yeah. So you're gonna each individually, divide those up, draw out the lines. And then once all the pieces are transferred, you're gonna put the all the pieces together. I'll take all the small ones.
All right. How about I just distribute? Three, 4, 5, 6, 10. Are you going to do? I don't mind. Yeah, so we have.
Is there anybody online that came online?
So far, no.
Okay, well, sorry, you don't get to do your online piece.
No worries. I'll be here to fill in if needed.
Thanks for being able, though.
Is that the other time? Okay. That report, so.
I'm just gonna.
Yeah, sort of that.
I'm not.
Yeah, I'm just. Yeah, sort of has a 3D for.
Are you? Lay it down and we can pick it up.
Yeah, I'm not the only thing for on here, so. That was long.
I can stay up to there. Yeah. Like, hard to draw well. Looks like you're tired. Yeah. No, there's no allowed. As you're transferring your pieces, you may notice that some pieces have a little bit more on there than others. 25 pieces total. Some tasks may be a little bit more complicated than others. Maybe some of you are a little better at drawing than others. No, I'm certainly not that great as illustrator. Yeah. That looks like time. 3 years. 3 years.
3 minutes left.
It's out for 3 minutes.
I'm just like laying the piece of, yeah.
Yeah.
So like you're, it's not the scale, it's not
It's got
gonna.
the individual element of the drawing, but there's also like interaction, just like, hey, how are we gonna do this? Hey, there's some blank. Hey,
Yeah.
just put back in the communication.
Yeah.
Like, actually, the X should be right, but like maybe starting location might have been wrong or something like that, because these are supposed to be parallel. And they are. Maybe they should have started behind or something like that. Very difficult skills.
We've been trying to get it up to static.
Oh, wait. I think the two people that like assemble together, someone. What is this put together? They do like, they have been anyway. What are we doing? Quickly going to like that. Yeah, well. I mean, that's the one shower. Oh, wait, this one was here.
I'm not sure where this goes, but
Unlikely. You're done. Oh, yeah, I guess it was like my favorite. Yeah. These two, they're like, yeah. Okay, thank you. I was real quick about it. Oh, yeah, I was looking. Should we? But, yeah, they're already good. We're in space. Or we did. Yeah, it's turning out together. Lines through. Yeah.
he's not a pretty strong.
No, that.
Yeah, yeah. That's one. Yeah. Yeah, probably. Yeah, the drivers want to be like amazing. Oh, the way. Hold on, let me. I don't even know what this is supposed to be. You guys?
It's like a book transferring your small pieces and like your large pieces. That's the first time.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
No, not right now. Just transfer. You got. Once if you're done with that, let me know. If you transferred all your small pieces.
You guys saw that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just still got, yeah. Small pieces still need to transfer. Okay, well, yeah, once you transfer all these, you gotta let me know. I don't want you to put together the puzzle together, but all the pieces have been transferred.
I think this is.
That's fun, yeah. Well,
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
We're not supposed to. There's also some.
Yeah,
All of them have been transferred. I would just like all the small pieces.
yeah. That's the ankle. You go over there.
I want to go civil, so I should be like something. Yeah. It's, I put it down. So I don't think that would be. That is true.
On referring to that. Yes. To transfer the little pieces back in. We got started. Yeah. It's okay, guys. We got all of you got a lot of talk about the 25 sheets of paper. So. You got them all transferred? Yeah. All right, so gather up all the small pieces, put them in the envelope, gather up all the large pieces, stack them up in the pile. In a pile? No. That's really. I just couldn't go all that. Oh, yeah. We did it. Yeah. And I'll take this envelope. You got that? What were you cooking there? Individually. This puzzle. Yeah, that's part of that, the original, actually. You're gonna then send that over to the other piece.
No.
And you guys have each individually worked on these pieces, transferring the little pieces to the large pieces. You're actually gonna send those to the other team. And they're gonna serve. Oh, we're transferring. Now you can put together the puzzle. Okay, yeah, I'm really. So go ahead and start assembling your puzzle now. I think it's enough. Like 5 sheets of slate. But in 5 by 5. So it's like, and we need some more time. 5 this way, and 5 like 12 minutes. They're not like. Oh, yeah. Like, where's the computer? I guess, yeah. I think this price has to be.
Yeah, no, but it's like, yeah, they're not perfect.
Yeah.
I think it's like. Scale, I mean, say that this goes here.
We just had stickers, okay, oh, there's.
Was that what we did?
Yeah, I think, so I think. Yeah.
Should we try to set them up like 5 by 5 and then organize them there? Or not?
Or do you like by like?
Yeah.
Because we should be able to find like the top of the wall. Like that, yeah.
There's a door with a padlock and a fence. Brick. Oh, yeah. Oh, that was probably the like asterisks are probably stars or snowflakes or. This is.
Oh, it's like, yeah, we're doing that.
I think the paper's gotta be like this.
Yeah, well, maybe they mixed us up.
Right, they knew this was part of the exercise.
Yeah.
We'll have to go together, alright?
Oh, wait, we combine, we get to 12 parts, like, trying to together.
Yeah.
That'll work.
I think this
Yeah.
might be, how are you guys doing on time?
That's a good question. I mean, we got completed anyway, so.
Are we
Yeah,
good?
it's time to go to the exercise. 15, but let's go 5 more minutes.
All right, well, we got more striking pieces down there.
Oh, yeah, I feel like this might be.
I'm doing pretty well. For pieces of
Yeah.
here.
That middle piece looks like next.
Oh, yeah. That one, this.
That one in the very middle looks like it's next to
That one?
the one with the curve on it.
Yeah.
That looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like, maybe like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just not, well, they, trying to remember this one that I created.
I know it fits in there.
We could have it like. Do you guys have any, what this size line?
Yeah. Like trying to.
Straight lines?
Yeah, a visual.
Oh, this one.
There. Wait, I don't think this one is here, because it's like,
I think so.
well, there's no line over here, like there's nothing.
Oh, I think that's right there.
Yeah.
That looks good.
So here's the thing, right? That piece right there looks exactly like the one I drew, but I know that's not the one I drew. So, do we have two people's papers in here?
We traded papers.
Yeah. What do you see?
What's this Steve's hand?
Nothing yet.
Yeah, that'd do it.
I think that would work.
Yeah.
Bricks? Bricks, I think the stars are like. Oh, wait. Oh, you're a genius.
That kind of looks like a.
Oh,
Like
this
it's,
goes here.
where does the lock go?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is it like a house or something with a padlock?
Wait, no, because this one here, I think.
So what's going on here?
Sideways.
Does this one connect us with that? Somehow.
Do you get?
Maybe this one? Yeah. That's like.
Use,
Yeah.
I don't. Oh, this could be.
Oh, yeah, and the C part, I don't know. Oh, yes.
I found that one.
Oh, like this one, maybe here? I just see like.
Does that one go there?
What about the stars?
I think it was there. Maybe it's.
Yeah.
No.
So for ours, these two with the stars, they went together.
What's your best guess of what it is? Walkway of bricks with a road and a walk and stars.
Okay.
That's our guess.
Oh.
No, that's fine. I'll show you what the solution is and then maybe I'll give you 2 minutes to see if you can then figure out the puzzle from there. So you're wrong, but there it is.
They just drew it that more than. Oh.
All right, so now see if you can do it in 2 minutes, now that you know what it's supposed to look like.
with the computer. This is the computer.
So these are the keys.
Here's
So wait,
the.
what's the circle?
Oh, it's gonna be keyboard.
I was thinking it's a volume, but.
Oh, this is the top, so you can turn around,
Oh, okay.
right?
So
You see,
Yeah.
I think that's the bottom left corner.
really?
Yeah, this one
Look
here.
across the dog.
That's the-
Wait, oh, we see the 3 blanks, because there's a blank that's top left and.
Which
top
case we
right,
should
and,
take
like, the one
those.
below that.
Because that one has the 2 parts coming together, so that's probably the page.
Yeah.
Build off the law.
Be down one.
Okay.
We should move, since those are like the bottom corner, right?
I still think it's the top, it's a dot right here. Oh, like the ball.
Yeah, like the lunch part, bottom left. Okay. Yeah, it's just. Were you trying to get the corners like together? Like that one's the bottom right corner. This one.
There's the webcam.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. So where do we want to put the bottom left?
It's tough. Yeah, like we can get all four corners going because they're blank. So the bottom right corner. Okay, we're smoothing it like that. Okay. Wait, yeah, let's get the four corners going, guys. Yeah, so and those, that's bottom.
That image is right on it. You want to use that?
Yeah. All right.
It's just a.
So about 30 more seconds. No, but we don't know which piece to wait. Like it's hard to.
I'm calling.
Guys, I think I figured out what it is. Where are we calling it?
It's a walkway.
Yeah. All right. And then it looks like the rest of the keyboard builds off that. No, this is
This one kind of different. See here, there are keys in the bottom row for.
No. This one's the bottom left. This one's like, you see that? It's 4 to the left, and then we move the other two. Oh, I see. Yeah. So I think it's.
All right. Good attempt. Let's gather up all the pieces of paper. Gotta move on. All right, that was a pretty difficult task. There's some challenges that came with that. Before we go into these questions, what was your methodology about going about this problem?
I think we were trying to locate things that we could tell they went together and then build off of that.
Was that in the individual phase when you're?
Oh, in the individual, I think it was just drawing, and people had more complex ones, you would take over for them, so you get those tasks.
Even out the workload. Yeah. Any other thoughts on kind of how you have approached this problem?
We try to give everyone the roughly same amount of cards, so from there, if anyone was working slower, people who finished earlier could help join them.
So did you feel that there was any piece of paper that was like way too hard to draw, or I'm sure you noticed there's some blank pieces, right? So try to take some analogies away on this team building exercise. Like sometimes there's going to be tasks that are a little bit more complicated than others. Who felt like they had a good feel for the perspective of transferring the small image to the large image? Or was that difficult?
I think with some of the more complex pieces, it was really difficult to make sure everything would line up properly.
Yeah, but it is, yeah. Okay.
Also, the pieces were square, so like you had to extend it
A little bit.
onto the 8x11.
Yeah, the proportions were off a little bit, okay? As you guys were assembling your puzzles, was there, how'd you feel about the switch? That you weren't gonna actually be assembling the ones that you put all that work into, that someone else was gonna be putting together that puzzle? How'd that make you feel?
We assumed that would happen.
Oh, you did?
I did.
I don't think it increased the difficulty, but I guess my first reaction was, well, I hope they did a good job.
Yeah, you're hoping that you get a good product from that other team that, yeah, go ahead.
I think that was for me, once I realized that was happening, once I realized that it was the same puzzle, because I keep this that when we did it, I was like, okay, So we already have a base walking, but we should.
Yeah. Okay, this knowledge. How about go ahead.
She was a Sam drew a really good padlock. That was really disappointing.
You had to give that away, yeah.
And I'm sorry, whoever drew the padlock. It's really kind of. I'm sorry.
Oh, good illustration there. Okay, so how about roles as far as when you're putting together the puzzle? How was the communication? Was there any sort of leader that emerged?
We kind of, as a group, figured out who was better at puzzles and kind of had them directed a little bit.
Kind of step back.
Yeah, it kind of evolved a little bit, but at the start, that's weird.
Yeah. Was there any on this team, anybody that you guys were kind of looking to?
I think we were just throwing out suggestions as is. And
But like no one worked on them together. It was like two people worked on one suggestion, and other people like assembling a few parts. Like was really cohesive.
So you felt like that maybe delayed or
Yeah,
prevented you from finishing?
absolutely. Yeah. I could finish it by myself, I think.
Okay, that's a good observation, yeah.
Yeah, you were helping. It was kind of like a micromanagement, the puzzle, like the G board looked like a brick road, kind of, and then we had the lock, and people working around the lock. And then like the size of the computer that didn't really have the brick on it, like the brick looking stuff. So like, it was just all split up and then trying to like converge each part with the hardest part.
So to your point, I do want to kind of return to that, just like you said, I could do this on my own. It would probably have been way easier if I drew all the pieces out myself, and I could have done it together. A lot of times, this is an analogy to large projects, and sometimes you don't have enough time or resources to do that yourself. And so that just isn't an option. So we need teams to do these sorts of things. And sometimes, you're going to get this other person did something, maybe not the way I would have done it. But that working together is crucial to accomplishing whatever task or project or mission that you're doing. Any conflict that you guys have? Seems pretty civil. Nobody fighting about, oh, you're wrong, that piece goes here. Any other observations?
Yeah, just a couple on the leadership and the team dynamic a little bit, right? So we see this all the time when we're working against hard deadlines in the military. We got, a project to accomplish and the deadline inserts that automatic stressor, right? And so the trick is, how do you come together and provide individual talents to the larger group, right? So I could tell right away, I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Sam.
Sam had drawing experience, right? And so we've just heard from you all that scale matters, right? So maybe if we ask like, hey, does anybody have drawing experience? Or, she could have shared that real quick and provide a little bit of perspective on like how important scale is and how to kind of maybe do that. And that maybe could have been the thing that provided the factor to get us over the top on the actual putting together the puzzle, you know what I mean? So it's, how do we identify individual skills and how do we quickly amalgamate those into the team? You guys sort of naturally developed a leader. I heard somebody took over the time. You guys kind of divvied up resources. Did this team like sort of identify a leader? Did you guys keep track of time? How did you guys kind of do that?
You did it. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not that the leader of any organization has some like, paramount wisdom over the rest of the team, right? But what they do have, what their job is to remain above the micro tasks and maintain that perspective, the larger perspective, right? And so that's why it's important to establish that leader, and, just to kind of help manage the tasks and those kinds of things. But all in all, you guys work, very, very well together. And then the last thing is I heard, what's your name again? Yeah. She has an important question. Like, I think you said, something about winning, right? And so again, for teams, we could ask Major Hyde, like, hey, what do we get if we win? Because it may seem trivial, right? But providing that extra little bit of motivation for a team, might be the thing that helps us, the intrinsic thing that helps us like get there, right? And so we kind of understood the task was to assemble the puzzle, but could we maybe have interjected a little bit more competition if we understood that we could actually like win something, and kind of help with that. So those are a couple of my observations, but all in all, great teamwork.
Or even the consequences if the puzzle wasn't completed.
Right.
I appreciate some of the out of the box thinking. I heard somebody from this group that was asking, like, hey, can we collaborate with the team? Can we see what they're doing or spy on them or whatever? It's like, all right, well, the instructions doesn't explicitly say that one or the other, but why not? If you have a certain kind of instruction, sometimes they don't tell you all the details of everything you need to know. And so it's not a bad thing to go back and clarify and communicate, like, can I do this sort of thing? Instructions aren't clear one way or the other. So that's another way of looking at and tackling kind of problems. I saw a certain kind of different kind of leadership styles, even despite not specifically identifying a leader. Certain people on this team were going to be like, okay, well, I think I know how some of these things go, and so I'm going to be just getting myself involved and just try to be able to put things together. So if you're talking about any kind of course on innovation, people talk about innovation all the time. A lot of that is trial and error. And so simply just like making the effort of trying to be able to do something, trying to be able to fit things together gets you closer to your goal of actually putting this together, absent knowing exactly how you're supposed to do it, or taking all your time planning and then you enter into analysis paralysis. Sometimes people take a step back and they're trying to be able to have that overall perspective. I saw a few people trying to like watch and like see everything going on, not really sure if they injected themselves in and kind of like got in the way of other people. So they had different like philosophies of, hey, here's how I can help best, or I'm not sure what to do. I don't want to get in other people's way. Sometimes like you start to learn each other of, these are parts of team building exercises. So we were observing how each of you were approaching it and just kind of like saying, hey, this person always has some talents and strengths in these different areas. We also would hope that each of you would try to be able to quickly try to learn some things about each other and be able to say, all right, if I were to do another kind of group exercise, how could I be able to leverage this other person's strengths?
All right. Cool. Thank you for those observations. We're going to move on. The time is slipping away. So we're going to move on to the stages of team development. These team development stages in the COGS ladder is basically adopted by military and civilian organizations to describe the phases of a team. And this is going to be pretty common with many teams that you'll be a part of. We're going to use the Avengers to kind of help us illustrate these stages. So there's 5. You start at the bottom of the ladder, you rise up. Does everybody know each other in here? No. Okay, so it's a relatively new group. Okay. So that's an interesting dynamic. But we'll start at the bottom. We'll go through these stages and we'll talk about kind of what happens, what are the attributes of this stage, and what are the goals of each stage. So the first one is the polite stage. My video is going.
Agent Romanoff. Captain Rogers. Man.
Hi. I need you on the bridge for signing face prints.
You there?
Despite the bugs around here finding you in the ice, but also it's going to swim. Did you ask me to sign this Captain America great concert?
Great.
They're vintage. He's very proud.
Dr. Madden.
Yeah. They told me you'd be coming. Where did you find the cube?
Is that the only word I mean?
Only word I care about.
It'd be strange for you, all of this.
Well, this is actually kind of.
Gentlemen, you may want to step inside a minute. It's gonna get a little hard to breathe.
Ian.
All right. So this clip kind of illustrated the polite stage. What did you see? What are some of the attributes that you saw in this clip? Just shout them out.
Introductions.
Introductions. Yeah. Just meeting people. Good. Is that it?
Well,
Kind of like awkward silences, I guess.
Okay. You're trying to feel each other out maybe. Yeah. There's going to be some Judgment, maybe?
Statement of goals, that's all I really care about.
What was the first part you said?
Statement of goals,
Okay.
I'm talking about all he really cares about.
Okay, we'll see, that comes a little later, but that's a good observation. Small talk, okay. Yeah. In the word of the stage, polite, yeah, people are not making sure they're not gonna step on any toes, they're gonna be very polite, kind of feeling each other out. There's no group identity at this point. Basically just getting to know each other and figure out like who's a part of this team. What are you about? What am I about? The goals for this stage is pretty basic. What do you think the goal is right now with this team? Yeah. Get to know each other, probably trying to avoid a little bit of conflict at this point. Okay. We move into the next stage, which is why we're here. So this is kind of where you're getting ahead of the plight stage, where now we're going to be maybe establishing some of these goals of what is the point of this team? I don't know how to get the volume up on this.
There was an idea.
It may be fine.
Called the Avenger Initiative.
It's fine.
The idea was to bring together a group of remarkable people. See if they could become something more. See if they could work together when we needed them to fight the battle we had could. Bill Colson died still believing in that idea. Thank you. It's an open question.
Ooh, okay. So in the why we're here stage, goals is the main thing. What else do you think happens in this stage of team development? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, that's when people start to decide whether or not they actually want to be part of that team.
Okay. Yeah.
Delegation of responsibilities.
Not quite yet. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's the motivation aspect.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, well, like, why does this team matter? What is the whole point of this? That motivation will probably come in that team, like, hey, we're going to be accomplishing these sorts of things, and that motivates me to be one part of the team. Maybe you start getting some type of like group identity, although it's going to be low. You might see some cliques start to build. You might work with people better than others. Maybe you'll start to see that happening. But ultimately, this phase is just to say, these are the goals that we want to do. This is how our team is going to look. Maybe you start to build that identity, but really is the goal. It comes down to what is the point? What is the purpose? What is the goal of this team? And what are we going to accomplish? It's pretty simple. It takes it very slow, and you may run through these phases fairly quickly. Say in the polite stage, if you already know each other, right? Like that stage may quickly come and go in an instant because I've worked with all these people. I know them. We're all acquainted. We're going to jump to the why we're here in a new stage and a new team. All right. What's the next phase? Do you guys remember, or what is it?
Bid for power.
Bid for power. All right. Good action sequence there. So bid for power is an interesting phase in the team. We kind of already know each other now. We understand why we're here. And now things start to get interesting. Sometimes when you're in a team, a leader or boss is going to be appointed already. Sometimes that's not the case. So sometimes it'll be kind of a natural leader that may arise in different situations. What are some of the attributes of this stage? Yes.
People start like saying what they're good at, like kind of like a resume interview kind of style thing where it's like, I can do this, then this is important to this project because.
Okay. Okay, yeah, you're vying for that influence, like, yeah, I want to be in charge of this part. I want to take this under myself to do that because I think I'm best qualified. Okay. Anything else? Yeah.
Just based off of that clip, it almost seems like you're challenging not only the other person, but also yourself, just like to kind of prove to yourself and the other person that you are committed to that time.
Okay. Maybe, yeah, you might have some people trying to prove themselves or defend the position that they're in that team. I guess so. Yeah. Yeah. So they're all vying for influence too. So even if there is maybe an established leader, you're still going to be kind of wanting to control maybe how things are done or the methodology that the team is going to go about doing whatever you're tasked to do. So maybe if you're not the boss, there's still going to be some sort of bid for power of how decisions are made, what kind of information is going to be presented to then go in certain directions.
Establishing rules.
Yeah, that's very that's awesome. Good part of bid for power is basically establishing like how are we going to operate here. Maybe putting in some structure of who's going to be doing what, who's going to be reporting to who. You will have some conflict in this stage. There's going to be some competition increase and maybe some cliques in that team. So if there's maybe a stronger group of people that are kind of having a little bit more influence on the decisions and the direction of the group, that you're going to see that as well. We kind of already went over the goals of this stage. Like you said, it's the structure. How is this going to operate? How are we going to go forward as a team? And who is ultimately in control? And that doesn't necessarily mean like, well, there's already a appointed leader, then we can just skip this phase. No, that's going to happen. There's, if I have a boss, I'm going to be presenting ideas to him. If he has a task that needs to get done, well, I think we should do it this way. Or some other person's gonna be like, no, I think this is the better option. So that bid for power is still going to be happening regardless if there's already an appointed leader or if a natural leader will arise. Okay. All right, so we're kind of vying for that influence on the group. What do you guys remember what the next stage is, or saw what the next stage would be? Once you kind of have an established, okay, this is the way we're going, this is how we're going to operate. These are the people that are going to be controlling the direction. What happens next? You start doing it. With the constructive phase. Okay, so they're on mission. They're defeating the bad guys. What are some of the attributes that you saw or that you would see in this stage, the constructive stage?
Short-term plans and executing those.
Yeah, you're executing what you've set out to do. In the back.
They're using their people in their team to their strengths.
Okay, yeah, they're people that can do certain things are doing them. So they're maybe giving up control in the areas that they may not have those skills. Okay. Yeah.
Collaboration.
Yeah, they're working together. I need this person to do these things. So the problem is definitely a group problem now versus individual agendas. What else? Anything else? Yeah.
The team starting to perform a little more efficiently.
Yeah, and this is really the stage where you're going to have some productivity. In the previous three stages, your productivity is probably going to be low to medium at that point. So yeah, we said collaboration, progress towards goals. So you saw some of the back and forth dialogue, questioning, active listening. All members are contributing, and the team spirit begins to build. Ultimate goals is kind of what I said already, just accomplish the task at hand, right? So our team is complete. We've got to know each other. We understand why we're here. We kind of understand who's in control and how we're going to operate, and now we're doing the task. So we should be good, right? We're done with the phases of team growth. Wait, there's one more.
What happens when the task is over?
Oh, you just continue to the next task. But you should be, hopefully, if it's the same team and you understand the structure, then you should be operating at that constructive phase, or maybe, hopefully, the next stage, which is the esprit stage. So we'll see kind of how this one maybe differs from the constructive phase. All right. So what kind of different aspects did you see in this phase?
There was like a lot of synergy, I guess, like everyone was kind of covering each other's back
Mm-hmm.
in that.
Yeah.
They were working really well individually, so they didn't need that further guidance. They knew their role really well, so it was a well-working piece of machinery.
Yeah, it's almost like you gotta get out of the way at that point and let the machine of the team go. Okay, you look at that clip and you're like, okay, that's the Avengers, like that's the team. They're working really well together. You know it when you see it, that they've got that high, strong group identity. That's the Avengers. They're doing what they do best. Morale is high in your team. You got intense loyalty. All members kind of respect and approve of each other, what they can do and bring to the team. There's an interesting part of this is the closed membership. So I don't know if you guys know the Marvel, movies. Like as you start adding other members, you get Bucky and Spider-Man, all these different people, you kind of, all the conflict happens again. And so in a group that has reached the esprit stage and is working like this, membership is typically closed. And if you bring new people in, well, now you're going to be dropping down to the polite stage again, where you're trying to get to know people and you kind of got to build back up, kind of resets those teams. But yeah, and the goal is very much like constructive. You're accomplishing that task at hand, but now you've got a strong group identity, in the units that we've all been a part of. Everybody's got their own patch. We've got strong identity in the unit that we're a part of and the mission that we do. So that is, all seems maybe trivial, but it is a big part of being an effective team and being proud of the work that you're doing for that team. So we've got about 20 minutes left, I think. Do you guys mind if we just kind of press forward? If you need to kind of stand up, shake out your legs if you need to, but if you don't mind, I'd like to just kind of press through. We're gonna, just for the sake of time, here's what I want to do. We're not going to do this. Okay, but what I want to do is that we'll kind of do it as a group. The next thing I want to do is talk about the characteristics of leaders and followers. So we'll kind of describe some of these characteristics and attributes. And then after that, I want to talk about what those attributes and those leaders can do within a group to then move across these different teams or stages of team leadership. So everyone, think about good leaders, okay? When you think about a good leader, shout out some attributes of those leaders.
Respectful for the people on their team.
Respectful, okay?
Lead by example.
Lead by example. Okay.
Humility.
Okay,
Willing to accept criticism or just comments from the people you're working with.
that's good.
Effective listening,
Listener.
confident,
Confident, cool.
Able to adapt.
Adaptability, yeah,
Observation skills.
okay.
Clear expectations.
Setting expectations, okay.
Knows when to micromanage and when not to micromanage.
Okay,
Confident.
confident. You guys have any, what are your favorite attributes of good leaders?
There's that humility, but I'll add charismatic.
Charismatic, huh? Yeah,
personable,
yeah.
So I'll combine both of those, right? The adaptability, I think is very important, not just adaptability and ability to think and cognitively approach a task, but adaptability in style on how you approach different people, right? People need different, they need different leadership techniques and different means of engagement, different motivations, right? So there's really two forms of adaptability in leadership, I think.
A few that come to mind for me: integrity, able to solve problems, disciplined, skilled, competent. Anybody else have any more for a leader?
Perhaps a good planner.
Planning, yeah, okay. Plan out things, strategic, visionary, and thinking toward the future. Okay, good. Those are all great. Let's switch our gears to now a follower. When you think of the word follower, we teach a lot of different types of followers, and what we want is an effective follower. So I think that when we talk about follower, it's a very good thing. We need followers, and followers aren't just sheep that just follow. Yes, they just blindly don't think. They're not critical thinkers. They just blindly follow things. That's not what I want in a follower. I want somebody that can follow orders, right? But is also a critical thinker that has integrity, that can do these sorts of things and effectively accomplish the things that I need them to do. So what are some other attributes that you would think of when you hear the term effective follower?
Asks questions.
Good. Yes.
Competent in whatever.
Competent. Yeah, what else?
Trust for their leader.
Trustworthy.
Somebody's not a yes man.
Someone who's loyal and like won't betray.
Yeah.
Other than say, yeah. Attention to detail.
Attention to detail? Yeah, what do you got back?
Discipline when there are good instructions to follow.
Okay. Yeah, discipline in their instructions that they're following. Okay. Yes.
Willing to pull their weight, like actually contribute to the project.
Yeah.
Buy-in, whatever they're actually working on.
Yeah, that's very important for sure. And the leader's job is to make sure that buy-in is there. Like, hey, this is the direction we're going. I need you guys and girls to be able to go that way with me. And if you don't have that, yeah, the follower is not going to be following very effectively. Yeah.
Self-sufficient to a degree.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, a follower needs to be able to make decisions. They need to be able to solve problems. They need to be able to have that skill to go and do those things that they need to do. Okay, good. So here's some of the things we said. I think we hit a lot of these across both followers and leadership. And so what I want to submit to you all right now is that I think there's some overlap, quite a bit actually, on the attributes and characteristics of a follower, of a good follower, and a good leader. I think you could apply any of these attributes to both of those terms. So we're not going to go over those because I think most of them have been said. But so what do you think this relationship is now between a leader and a follower? Like, what does that relationship look like?
There, you had already said it kind of, but I think that a lot of leaders aren't followers too. And so there's a lot of overlap, I think, because they're used.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, everyone has a boss, and there's those kind of. I would say, like, I don't know if Elon Musk has a boss. Maybe he does, but in our organization, I'm a leader, but I'm also a follower. I've got a boss. I've got a commander that I have to follow. So I would say, yeah, I totally agree that you've got to be a good follower to be a good leader, and you got to be a good leader to be a good follower. That's the relationship there. Yeah.
A leader and a follower both have the same goal. The follower has to have to deal with smaller details of some task, while a leader has to be able to manage the larger perspective, which includes managing multiple followers.
Sure. So there's a management element to leadership. But leadership also maybe holds a little bit more of that responsibility. So if things don't go right, well, it's the leader's, it's on his or her shoulders to bear that weight of the outcome.
Just want to note also that you don't have to have a position of authority in order to be a leader. You can be a leader amongst your own group, who can recognize, hey, even though you don't have a position of, hey, you're in charge of everybody, people look to you for protection, they respect you, they acknowledge your opinion, and you have influence despite the position.
Yeah, I like that word, influence. It's good. Okay. Any other thoughts on that, on the relationship of leaders and followers? And it's a very interesting relationship, and we see it day to day. You can see it in your workplace, in your personal life, with your friends, coworkers.
I was gonna say, I think the expectation of a follower should be that their leader can communicate, well, two things crystal clear, intent and in state, right? And so, and then the expectation of a leader is that their follower can internalize their intent and work to it in state. It's the age old, tell me what needs to be done, but not how to do it, right?
Yeah.
And every follower wants the freedom to be able to work their own way to accomplish a task. And so that's a very important part of this. As a follower, you should expect your leader to give you the intent and the end state. If they don't, you should ask for it. And then when you are a leader, you should be able to think about ahead of time, what is the end state? What is my intent to accomplish that? You're going to be fiscally constrained when you work on projects. So you want your follower to understand, hey, this is the task we got to accomplish, but here's the budgetary resources that we can devote to it. They're not planning unconstrained, just as an example, right? So that's an important part of that leader-follower relationship.
Excellent. Yeah, perfect. Thank you for that. Yeah, we kind of hit that. Okay. So next about 5 minutes, let's talk about leaders and followers inside now these teams and these phases of our team development. So as we're thinking about the polite stage, okay, what is something a leader could do in the polite stage to help move along that phase to the next phase, to the next stage? Yeah. Yeah, kind of facilitate that introduction and see if anybody's kind of sitting off in the corner quiet, like bring them in. Anything else? That's a good one. How about a follower? What do they do in this stage?
Introduce themselves.
Yeah, take the initiative to make sure they're being introduced. And again, like see anybody else that needs to be introduced or get to know other people within that group. That doesn't need necessarily be the leader. So yeah, really, it's very simple. The leader and the followers, you need to make sure everyone gets to know each other. You can facilitate that. Actually, I don't need to flip the slide. Okay, so the next stage, why we're here. What's something the leader can do to help establish the goals of this stage?
Kind of explain kind of the goals, purpose, the why,
Yeah.
kind of what they're doing, as well as a leader also believing the why. Because if the leader doesn't believe in the why, and it's really much telling the people why they should be doing it, they need to also own it.
Yeah, it's like Chuck was saying just now, like that's the leader's job is to say, this is my intent. This is what I want. This is why we're here. This is what we can expect at the end of this. That's all going to happen in the why we're here phase. So that's important for the leader to do up front. It's good. Thank you. And then you kind of talked about buy-in. Like as a follower, you need to ask those questions. Say, hey, I'm not fully understanding what we're doing here. I'll ask those questions so I can get on board and I can be like, okay, this makes sense. I'm with you. Here we go. All right. Keep going back there. All right. Next stage, bid for power. That's when that conflict starts arising. The influence or how the group is going to be operating happens. What's one thing the leader can do in this space? Yeah.
Kind of like the scene we watched where I think Captain America came in, kind of try to control that 5,000 breaking out.
Yeah.
Maybe in a more organized manner, figuring out, like, maybe those of the people could be strong, suited for different things,
Mhm.
helping them recognize that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think that's a good analogy with Captain America there. He's trying to, hey, we got to focus back on the goal at hand. I think you guys both want the same goal, but their methodology may be different. So we need to focus back in on our goal, try to see where each person can be used effectively. Encourage that working together, that collaboration. Sometimes collaboration can be collaboration and can be a compromise where you kind of have to do that give and take. Okay, good. How about a follower in this step?
And just one more before we go
Yeah.
forward. I think as a leader too, this is a very crucial step where the leader needs to be very careful about not elevating a clique or individual, above the rest of the group, right? They need to be very careful about giving people voice across the team and those kinds of things, right? That, from a leader.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, there might be some strong personalities vying for that influence and making sure you hear everybody's voice too. Okay, what about a follower in this step in the bid for power? Okay, yeah.
If you don't want to be a leader and you're okay being a follower, to kind of just like bow out of it and just like go in the background for a little bit.
Okay. So you're like, yeah, I'm in the, I guess the natural, when a natural leader may be rising up, like, yeah, I'm good with just kind of not being responsible. You guys take the decision on this one. I'll just follow wherever you guys go. Could be effective at some point, but you definitely want to make sure you're not just blindly following whoever's taking the lead. Think about things, ask questions, have the courage to say, yeah, I don't know if that's the best way or the right way, or maybe it's unethical or illegal or something like that. Okay. All right, constructive phase where the job is actually getting done. What's one thing the leadership can do to help this phase be effective? Right. Yeah.
They probably started with pointing out different strengths of like team members. Trying to point them where they need to be.
So managing those resources and skills and competencies, saying we need to move these over here. It's good.
This might be a point too where the leader backs off a little bit, specifically from micromanaging, since he or she already knows what the team can do and has to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're definitely micromanaging, you want to stop that. I guess that's the negative term we use for something in a leadership style that we call management by exception active, where you're actively managing something. Those sorts of situations can be acceptable. Like if the safety is high, if there's some high risk consequences, like if you're having an instructor pilot, and you got somebody instructing them, they're going to have almost that micromanagement feel of, if I need to make sure you're doing everything you need to be doing because safety is at risk here. Micromanage is like the negative term to that. We call it management by exception active. You're actively looking over there and managing. So all to say, yes, I agree. Like you're kind of stepping back a little bit, making sure that collaboration is happening. Exactly. What can the leader do then to move them into this esprit stage? Yeah.
You could provide like incentives to help them, like a common goal or like a reward to kind of intrinsically go to business.
Okay. So that kind of happens in the why we're here. Like this is the purpose. But you could start maybe
Winding them up there incentive.
yeah, keeping that motivation going of what they're doing. Okay. Go back.
I think when the leader has pushed their team through adversity, and has made it through successfully.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely helpful to bond through those hard times. Yeah.
Holding either extra activities or just making sure that people feel valued inside that team and making sure to give credit where it's due and owning mistakes.
Yeah, and recognizing people and the team for their good work, making sure everyone feels like they have a role. You know, that's one thing, at least in my experience, that if I felt a part of a team and my role is not very important and it's just like am I even needed right here? Like the leader reinforcing those things, and then if there is a role that's like, hey, this isn't needed. Let's move you to a better role that suits the team. And then another thing I would say is that team spirit, kind of start moving on, working on that, building that camaraderie and that identity of a team. That can really help. And that's kind of a silly thing, but I know when the Space Force first started, I was super excited about like, hey, are they going to make new uniforms? Like that's probably not the most important thing to talk about, but you know, when you're on a team, you give someone a identity and a jersey almost. You got that pride, and so that's one thing that can really excite people and motivate people to have that strong identity for a team. Yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking like building not just trust between leader and follower, but like between followers as well. Like they can rely on each other.
So you're saying as a leader, make sure you're helping the followers trust each other?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you do that?
I don't know, I guess like good just team building activities.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
I think one of the things related to that is that, like, in order to move from that constructive phase into that spiritual phase, I think that you need to be able to not just understand your own strengths. Like, if you understand your own strengths and you do your part of the job, that like you are performing a bit, but where you really should perform quite a bit better is when you understand other people and you're able to find a way to that synergy by not just knowing what their strengths are, but like actively trying to be able to trust them and to anticipate what they're going to do. Like, so it's almost as if you could do a trust fall saying like, hey, I know you're going to do your job. I trust you so much that I'm putting myself at risk if you don't do your job. If you get to that phase, then you're really working well together and like, you know that, hey, I trust you to do your part. I'm going to do my part. I'm not even going to worry of you not doing your part, and I'm going to put myself even at risk. So it allows you to focus even more on things you're strong at. So if everybody's just doing only their strengths, then you get the maximum benefit out of each person's contribution to the overall team.
Now, real quick, before we wrap up, just things to think about. There's kind of more rhetorical questions here. If you've been a part of teams before, like kind of think about what made those teams great. Maybe you can pull some of those attributes and kind of apply them to what we talked about today. A lot of times teams don't move through these stages at the same rate. There's going to be things that will change even the time that you spend in those stages. And then even if you hit them at all. So like I said, if there's teams that you kind of know everybody already, you can kind of skip the polite stage. You move into the why we're here. If maybe it's a recurring team and you've made it to that constructive phase, I would say a lot of times, most teams may not even make it to the spree stage. It takes time. It takes certain circumstances for teams to get to that stage where they're working like that. A lot of times, like in my experience, I've been a part of units that kind of they kind of reach that stage where there's people coming in and out, changeover that happens, new leaders coming in, new directives, new visions, and we're kind of teetering on that line of a spree to just the constructive phase where we're getting stuff done, but there's things outside of the team's control that is happening that kind of prevents us from really making it to that spree stage and just and working that machine and getting out of the way of the machine. Kind of hit those. So hopefully you took something out of this. Feel free to ask us questions after this if you're interested in more aspects of leadership or even the ROTC programs themselves. Great program, leadership program. You'll go through that and become an officer on the other side once you graduate. You guys have any last words, parting words? I feel like for me, one of the biggest things for teamwork is trust. That was talked about a little bit. If you don't have that trust, there's lots of other things that can break down a team. But I think that's, for me, is one of the highlights of a team that I'm a part of. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, feel free again to, if you have questions afterwards. It was our pleasure to instruct you guys today. Good luck with the rest of your workshop and have a good one.